Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. and the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations, looking for the 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, products, and the people, of course, that are making a difference as we go through the 21st century. And of course, we talk about different topics in the green space, but one of those is energy. As we go to a planet of 9 billion people, how are we going to be able to provide the energy that they need to have an increased quality of life? A gentleman sitting right beside me is no stranger to Emerald Planet TV. He's been with us before. This is Mr. Mark Davis, who is the president of WDC Solar, and also the president of the Urban Solar Society of America. And Mark, welcome back to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. Thank you for having me back. Pleasure to be here.
It's always good to have you. Tell us a little bit to remind our viewers here and abroad just what is WDC Solar, and then tell us a little bit also about this Urban Solar Society of the United States.
Absolutely. WDC Solar is a solar installation company based in Washington, D.C. We engineer, procure, and contract solar installations throughout D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. We were incorporated in 2009. We also have a curriculum that is certified by the Department of Labor where we train young men and women to become solar professionals. And that's worked really well for us. Been able to put a lot of people to work.
Yeah, let me interrupt for 1 minute because I think that's really very important because you're in a very special place in Washington, D.C., over in Ward 8. You also serve Ward 7 as well as the rest of the city. But you've really had an opportunity to reach into the community and allow people to come in and gain skills they need to work in the community. Tell us a little bit about that philosophy of having people from the community working in the community.
Yes. So once I started WDC Solar, one of the things that I wanted to do was to provide training for young men and women in Ward 7 and 8 to make sure that they were a part of this green industry. Because when you look at the job numbers, the African American community, we see it falling off. I think we were at about 5.7% in 2014. In 2015, about 5.2%. So we've seen that decrease. So one of the things that I wanted to do initially was to make sure that we had a trained workforce to obtain these jobs. So we wanted to get out and secure a place so that we could train young men and women. And we did do that. And we've trained more than 60 young men and women now. We had about 22 of them working over the summer for about 6 months on different jobs that we were doing. And
we all put in there too that we've really collaborated because we've been collaborating on these projects, but also the Temple of Praise through their employment ministry, Christopher Askew, and a number of people in the community that have really come to the fore and wanted to make this happen. And
absolutely.
so you've been able to collaborate with the city itself?
Yes, and Temple of Praise is a great example. We, as you know, work with you with the jobs program over there. We had 2 individuals that we actually hired from Temple of Praise. We not only install on residential, but we also do commercial installs. As you know, we installed on about 4 schools over the summer. So we were able to put quite a few people to work and did about 40 or so residential units under the low income program that I helped create there in DC. And reduced electric bills for many low-income residents, made life a lot easier for them.
It's really incredible. And tell us a little bit about the Urban Solar Society.
Absolutely. The Urban Solar Society is it's an organization that was started by a group of minority solar professionals, and we meet and discuss best practices, what's happening in the industry, where the jobs are, basically how do we get more work for urban communities.
I think it's fantastic. And looking at this project here, and we're going to not just talk about these slides, but this really gives an idea of the scope and scale of the things that you're working with, because we first met, you were doing residential and all that, and you've greatly expanded. But looking at this, you're working with the Department of General Services, like the GSA for the federal government, and that's in Washington, D.C. So tell us about establishing that relationship, and what has that allowed you to do as far as WDC as a company, but allowed you to do in the communities that's helping to expand not only the influence, but the payback to local citizens for their own homes, as well as a taxpayer in Washington, D.C.?
Right, so a couple of things. Starting out, we really cut our teeth on the residential projects. Got a good understanding as to how it works, the components. We, got our guys out to install residential, and we, after that, we understood what was going on pretty much and graduated to the larger commercial projects. As you see here, this is a school project that we did. I think this is a 243 kW project, but we take those same individuals and we train them to do commercial projects on this type of system. So we got them out and we trained them, and we installed these systems on the schools in DC. So they go from working residential and now they're working commercial and getting that very important experience. And as I said, we had about 22 individuals working on those projects over the summer, which was, I thought, very good. So the city was on board. They're reducing their consumption. They're also reducing their electric bills, because through a PPA, they now pay less per kilowatt.
Now, PPA is what?
A power purchase agreement.
Okay, good.
So they sign a power purchase agreement to purchase electricity that the system produced that's on their roof. So they pay a lot less for electricity now than they did before. In addition to that, they reduce their carbon footprint. It's just a win-win for all.
It is, and also it reduces the amount of heat that builds up, in the city during the summer, and there's just so many benefits that comes out of this. But engaging these young people, you're developing really the next generations, almost 3 generations beyond what it is that you're doing right now. So that's a fantastic footprint as far as employing local people that can work actually within the communities. Looking at these systems here, tell us a little bit about what we're looking at and why are these special? Because I know about this company that you've been using as far as their technology, and it does have innovations that many other systems do not have.
Right. So the systems that we installed, most of them are 10K systems, and they employ a different technology. We can face the 10K panels north and south, and they cover more space per square foot than a normal system does, and produce more energy. So it's a new technology, and we thought it was the best technology for these flat roofs that we're installing on in the city.
Yeah, and looking at this photograph here as far as utilizing these flat roofs, DC now has a reputation, and I think it probably backed up by the data, as one of the greenest cities in the United States. And of course, city councils determine they want to be the #1 green city in the world, so that's asking for a lot. But you're a part of that mix to do that. So looking at the benefits as far as having the solar, we talked about, reducing greenhouse gas emissions and, allowing to reduce the bills. What other kinds of benefits that come out of going to solar on so many of these buildings? Because my understanding is they're going to convert all the schools into solar, and then they're starting already to work on, the other city buildings. I mean, this is going to be a huge footprint in downtown Washington, D.C.
Right. Well, first of all, City Council is on board, have been on board for a number of years now, and that leadership there is second to none. Our mayor is definitely on board, and she leads by example. And so we've seen the PPA reduce the electric bills for municipalities throughout the country where solar systems are installed. So we're convinced that by doing this, they not only reduce their carbon footprint, but they save the taxpayers money. And that's important. Those dollars can then go to hiring police, firemen, school teachers, infrastructure, and so,
Where's the disconnect in all this? Because, you hear this old story and it goes back probably several decades. It's much more expensive to, do solar, renewable energy and all that. But that's not really true anymore.
No, and I think you're right. It's an old story, a very old story. So the price of modules are coming down almost every day. Solar is very affordable. We have investors who are willing to invest in solar systems in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia now.
Well, you're also doing things in New York. Now, I was flabbergasted when you said you've been invited, not you just went there, you've been invited to go to New York, and then you're working in rural areas in Georgia. So you have this unique mix where you're working in small rural areas, hyper, large mega city like New York, and then of course you're in a very special place in Washington, D.C. So what are you learning that you're able to apply now to go beyond that to other places by having that very unique mix?
Well, I think the idea is to create jobs. And people see that we've done that in the District of Columbia. So we have young men and women that we bring in and we train. That's the first thing. So many people in urban areas want to see that. They want to see young men and women off the street working. So we got a call from New York, so we did go up and we participated in a training program there at City College, and we had about 22 people sign up and 22 people graduated. It was fantastic.
That's incredible, my goodness.
Yeah, so we have them trained now, ready to go to work in the industry there. We also received a call from some of our friends in Georgia, and they wanted the same thing there. So we have been talking with them, and it looks like we're going to have a training program starting, solar installation training program starting in Savannah, January 15th. So it's not only to train, but we're also good at getting contracts and then putting those people to work on those contracts, installing solar in those urban areas.
And making successful installments.
Yes.
About 30 seconds, actually about 15 seconds. What do you see for the growth and development of WCC Solar over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Yes, so we see the
15 seconds.
We see the industry expanding. We see growth. We see more jobs. We see a reduced carbon footprint, and we see our business doing a lot better.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you. This is Mark Davis, President of WDC Solar, and also President of the Urban Solar Society of America. Thank you for sharing about all these exciting new developments and the expansion that you're going through as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
One day these rats were playing in the woods. Well, it's some matches and that's no good. Listen to smoke before you give it a try.
Only you.
Don't play with matches. Don't play with fire. Cause there's nothing very funny about nothing very nice on a homeless mind. So if a gorgeous force is what you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Fire!
Why don't you just wash your car at home?
When I wash my car, everything runs down the street and down into the storm drains. With all the chemicals in the soaps and waxes, the last thing I want to do is poison my own drinking water. At least here, it's all contained and recycled on site. That's why I also take my car in for oil changes instead of doing it myself. I might take a chance on spilling stuff. You know what the best part is?
What?
More time to kick back and watch the game.
How far would you go to protect the planet?
I want you to build an ark.
Here we go. Okay, that's good. Oh, okay. Ow!
Maybe there's another way.
People, the flood is imminent!
Is it too much to ask for a little precipitation?
Go to fightglobalwarming.com to find out what you and your community can do to reduce global warming pollution.
Somewhere around the world, there are men and women of the armed forces risking their lives, helping rebuild communities after natural disasters, collecting toys for needy children, tutoring kids in school, These are your sons and daughters who work to keep us safe, secure, and free. Dedicated men and women who put their country first.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we look around the globe on a week-to-week basis looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, products, and people that are making a difference as we go to the 21st century. And as we go to a planet of 9 billion people, how are we going to actually increase the quality of life, the comfort, and the financial and economic opportunities so that they actually contribute to society instead of being a drain on society. And we have a gentleman that is working with Washington, D.C., with the city government, who is actually involved in all this. This is Zachery. He goes by Zach. Dobelbower. He is the sustainability manager, and I'm going to have you explain what a sustainability manager is in a minute.
Sure.
WDC, Department of General Services, like the GSA, most people know the General Services Agency of the United States and what you're doing there. But anyway, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Dr. Sam, thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you up. And tell us a little bit about what is a sustainability manager, because this is a new title within the last probably 3 or 4 years. Some people may not be familiar with it. And then just talk about what does the GSCS do?
Sure. So the Department of General Services is the agency that is responsible for all of the construction, operations, and maintenance of the district's local public buildings.
Mm-hmm.
So as you referenced, the GSA serves all of the federal buildings. We're responsible for the local buildings. We have about 30 million square feet of real estate portfolio inside the city.
Now that's just the city itself.
That's just inside the city.
Goodness
the
gracious.
district proper. So about 400 buildings that are over 5,000 square feet. The Sustainability Division within DGS is responsible for managing all of the natural resources and commodities that go into the operations and maintenance. And so with that responsibility, we pay for electricity, we pay for natural gas, water, stormwater, waste. We also are responsible for recycling and composting. So really all of the pieces that go into the buildings in terms of the inputs, we're responsible for managing that, and with that responsibility, we're charged with reducing the impact associated with those commodities. So we're trying to reduce our consumption, we're trying to reduce waste going to landfills, and we're trying to improve the indoor environmental quality of our buildings to make them better learning environments and to be more productive for district employees, residents, and businesses that use those.
So more productivity as far as the employees are concerned. And also too, in some localities and some countries, they're now talking about the zero carbon footprint.
That's right.
Now, tell us about the zero carbon footprint. What does that mean? And then let's relate that back to your organization and how you're realizing that on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. So zero carbon footprint effectively means that your building is not producing any greenhouse gas emissions. And so greenhouse gas emissions are typically associated with fossil fuels and combustion, associated with coal and electricity generation. So we produce about 400,000, or we consume about 400,000 megawatt hours of electricity, and the emissions associated with that is what we're trying to reduce and get down to zero. So we're really, in the short term, or really in the medium term, looking for a net zero footprint, which means that we are consuming as much renewable energy as we are using. And so you can do that by either producing electricity on-site or by purchasing it off-site. And so we've kind of cut a trail for doing large-scale renewable energy projects that are serving our buildings. Right now, we receive about 30 to 35% of all of our electricity comes from a renewable resource.
That is absolutely fantastic. And we're going to have some of the images that are going to be going on behind us, Zach, as we're talking about this. And most people that are watching this just realize that this is all going on in downtown Washington, D.C., among this 30 million square feet of roof space. Now, looking at that, and that would be going into what's called a green roof. You know, you can have green roof where you have plants and all that growing, or you're actually using it for something besides just keeping the rain and the snow out of the building and the heat away. So looking at successful innovation, sustainability, going as we're looking at these images on solar, and of course there's other renewables that you're also experimenting with. How does that fit into the mix of where you're constantly want to be coming in with new technologies, but also it's proven so that you know before you're investing in it that it actually is going to do the job for the taxpayer that you expect it to do?
Sure. So this really started with a smart roof assessment. So we took a look at all of the rooftop space available through the portfolio. There was about 12 million square feet of rooftop space available. We decided to optimize that asset. And so we looked at cool roofs, which are white roofs and reflect more of the heat back up into the atmosphere. We looked at photovoltaics. We looked at green roofs for stormwater management and reduction of the heat island effect. And in looking at that, we realized that we had opportunity to put a lot of solar, to put a lot of green roofs, and to restore a lot of our roofs and make them cooler white roofs, all really going towards making a better environment locally and globally. We have 375,000 square feet of green roofs. By the time the power purchase agreement, which was the mechanism by which we're installing all of this photovoltaics on top of our roof space, we will have close to 12 megawatts of solar up on our roofs. To give you some scale of that, a megawatt of electricity will service about 100,000 homes. And so
you're going to be doing 12 of those.
And we're going to be doing 12 of those.
That's an incredible increase.
It is a phenomenal scale that we're working at with our solar project. It's the largest urban solar construction project in the U.S. that I'm aware of. We use platforms a lot like this to do peer-to-peer learning and to share our best practices with other cities, other organizations out there looking to get involved. Part of the benefit of the solar PPA is we're going to create about 190 construction jobs during it. That'll translate to about 5 permanent jobs on the other side. It supports science, technology, engineering, and math. There's an education component to the STEM program. So we're really trying to connect as many dots as we can and leverage public-private partnerships to benefit district residents and students.
Now looking at, we've had some of these projects going in the back and some of the technologies being used, but why does the city council itself, you have a real champion there, we know that because they want everybody, they tout it, they want everybody to know that we're really supporting this. Why do you think they got on board to do this? And because you're doing it in a massive scale. It's not like you're just experimenting around the edges. I mean, 30 million square feet, and at the same time, they want to try to cover as much of this as possible.
So the administration, the district city council, have been very pro renewable energy for some time. So it really started with the renewable portfolio standard that set a requirement for how much renewable energy was going to be required of suppliers bringing electricity into the city. And so with that leadership early on and with the price of technology coming down, there's been more support, and what we've been able to show
It's been a huge decrease.
That's right. And in fact, if you look at some of the panels that I believe you're showing, you'll see that they face south and north. And so the cost of the modules has come down so much that they're putting 100% more PV modules on top of a rooftop space to get about 15 to 20% more generation production. And so you can see
same space.
in that same space.
Right.
And so it is really optimizing the space that we have and getting as much clean energy as we can consume.
It's just fantastic. Now, you're really working with the schools, and this is something that's very important, because not only are you actually converting the schools using, those roofs in order to be able to generate the solar power, but at the same time, it's a living lesson to the students, the faculty, and best of all, the community itself.
That's right.
So looking at using these schools, how are you able to leverage that? So not only are the panels going on the schools, you're reducing the, the greenhouse gas emissions, reducing the cost, but also it's a lesson, hey, you can do this on your own home, and we need to do this in the community. How are we bridging that school into the surrounding community?
So it's really started with a close collaboration with DC Public Schools. So we've been working with school administrators, principals, teachers. In the case where we do have students that are there and we're able to reach out and tell them about what we're doing on site, we take advantage of that. But really we are taking all of the solar projects, and so each school that's going to receive this, and there will be about 50 of them, each school will have kind of a profile of the solar project, how it fits into their electricity consumption, what it looks like in terms of their load, how it's helping to reduce summer peak demand, and then breaking it out. So looking at different curriculums that are focused around STEM education, and seeing if we can break out different portions of what's being applied so that each grade level can have a lesson to take back. And we're taking all of that and putting it onto a website. So we have buildsmartdc.com, and all of the solar projects are highlighted on the website, and all of our buildings are there. So you can go in, take a look, and see how the buildings are performing for the Energy Star portfolio manager.
Now, is that in real time?
So it is next day.
Next day, okay.
Yeah, next day, 15-minute interval data that we're getting. We get that for electricity. So the solar projects are highlighted as well. And we're excited about, once the project is completed and we have safe spaces, to start doing some tours of those rooftops and bringing students up there, and then hopefully figuring out how we can engage to go and kind of educate once everything is in place.
I think it's fantastic. We have this up, and we'll go through a few more of this before we end. But two questions, and I'll let you do this, and we have about 40 seconds to do this.
All right.
One is, what do you see as far as the citizen participation in this for the future? And then what do you see as far as the expansion, as far as the Department of General Services in the future?
Sure. So we're actively working with the District Department of Environment to produce a community solar project, and this will be about 2 megawatts that we are going to build with the Department of Environment, and then the electricity that's coming from that will actually go to support weatherization and the LIHEAP program. So we're going to get active with residents on the community solar program.
That's absolutely fantastic. Zachery goes by Zach Dobelbower, who is the Sustainable Manager, Washington, D.C. Department of General Services, DGS, and thank you for being with us as we look at these fantastic projects going on as we create the Emerald Planet.
Some dreams are universal. Dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
What's wrong with this picture? half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Geography is everywhere. It's incredible creatures, rhythm, fashion, flavor. It's economics and politics. It's change. Understanding connections between people and places is critical in the 21st century. That's why we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free parent and teacher action kits and give our kids the power of global knowledge. Because kids who understand our world today can succeed in it tomorrow.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello, welcome to the Emerald Planet as we're looking around the globe in 144 different nations, and we're looking for what we call the best of the best practices as far as dealing with the needs of the people, to provide the proper infrastructure as needed as many nations have expanding populations, particularly on the African continent. You may have some countries that have over 50% of the population under the age of 25. And so we really need to look at what is going on as far as what to do, as far as taking care of the planet, and at the same time to improve the environment as well as the economy. And I have a gentleman here who is Mathias Choma. He is Assistant Project Manager, Commercial Construction at Standard Solar Inc. And Mathias, welcome to the Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you out with us. Tell us a little bit about what is Standard Solar?
Absolutely. Standard Solar is a commercial it's a lead solar install company based in Rockville, Maryland. We do engineer, procure, and install solar photovoltaic systems. Our headquarters are based in Rockville, Maryland, but we do work in different municipalities such as DC, New York, Connecticut, New Mexico, South Carolina, California, to name a few.
Oh my gosh, you guys are just all over the place. And I've been to your facilities. I've looked at your technologies. I know that you're doing good work. And one of the things that you do that really is compelling is that you actually provide financing for your projects.
Absolutely.
And I've been telling people forever, you need 5 things if you're going to have a successful project: money, 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 and money.
You're right. You're right.
And if you can do the financing, you can do most of the rest of it because the technologies are there. Tell us a little bit about the financing arm of this, because this is truly unique as far as your company is concerned. How you went about that, and how do you see that leveraging the technologies that you have to get into all these different places that you're going on around the United States?
Great. Standard Solar is very well positioned in the financing world. We have an exemption financing team in-house where we do self-finance some of the projects. We do have other investors who also back us into the financing. With the engineering team and the financing team, we do provide the best technology and the financing for all the projects we go about to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have a unique technology that you've been using. I think it's what's called
10K.
10K.
Yes.
And I like the technology because I've been around solar since going back a lot of years when all this really first started back in the 70s. And I think they do have advancements. How do you go about identifying new technologies that you feel like is a good fit for Standard Solar, but in essence it's the best fit for your clients? How do you go about that process?
Well, it's a combination of the executive team, engineering team, which are very well sufficient and experts in this field. Mm-hmm. We do attend different conferences. We do learn about the different technologies out there. But the key part what we do as Standard Solar, we examine the property we're going to be putting solar, the photovoltaics, and that determines what system we're going to use for that particular portfolio. For this particular portfolio, the DC-DGS, we use 10K to maximize the power density and the spacing on the roof. With these modules, it's a dual orientation. We have one module facing 25 degrees south and one module facing 60 degrees north, which is a great opportunity because it maximizes the potential of the roof.
Yeah, and that's really something very important because even though there's a massive amount of roof space within Washington, D.C. itself, and of course the inner suburbs of Maryland, the upper suburbs of Northern Virginia, at the same time, you want to be able to conserve that space and have the maximum production.
Absolutely.
So going back to, and we have a roof right here in front of us, and I know that you worked on this roof because it's one of your projects.
Yes.
How would you look at that? I know you use satellites and all that, but how would you look at it to determine what is going to be the maximum amount of sun that you can extract to produce the solar power, and at the same time to use the maximum amount of square footage of that roof?
Great. The engineering team do conduct site visits on each particular roof we do work.
So it's not just looking Google Maps and looking at the roof. You actually physically go there?
Right. We use both technologies. We do use Google Maps to give us some visibility on the roofs, but our experts in the engineering department do visits to the sites to get a visual on the roofs, to do measurements, do some takeoffs on the roof so we get exactly the measurements and dimensions we need.
Now looking at this roof, and I do want to use this as an example because this is really a dense pack as far as the 10K is concerned.
Right.
How do you know how much of this roof you're going to use? Because many people say, hey, I have a large roof, I should be able to do it. And then the analysis may come back is that you have a minimal amount of space, you have no space. So what determines whether a roof like this really meets the criteria for actually having the solar here, and what may preclude it from being a candidate for solar?
Great. So when our engineering team do visits these roofs, we do a structure analysis on the roof. It tells us exactly the roof year and the warranty on the roof, how much is left on it. And that determines how much you can put solar. Also, we do a wind analysis. It tells us the roof orientation, how much solar can be placed on that roof. So in the combination of those things, in our technology, we do determine what capacity of solar can go on that roof.
So it's really very sophisticated then, Mathias, as far as what you're looking at as far as the roof is concerned, because you have the density aspect, the weight loads on those roofs, also the composition of the roof itself. Let's say you have a slightly flat roof, and many of these will have, say, like a rubber membrane or something like that so they don't leak. Can you do something on that roof, or do you have to do something totally different if you have that type of flat roof?
We do have flat roofs, which we've worked on before, but the critical aspect of it is the structure of the roof, which determines exactly what system is going to be placed on. In terms of that structure and the wind analysis, that will come back and tell exactly what system can be placed on that particular roof.
Now, looking at this, I don't think this is on a roof. I think this is somewhere else.
It's a ground mount.
Yes, okay. And the whole thing about this is that you have what's called community project, community distribution.
Yes.
And so what determines when you're actually going to go out and do a land-based solar system versus doing a roof base, and then how do you bring the clients in that can actually take advantage of that, ground-based organization?
So it's a collaboration between the investors or the community which approaches us with the idea of the solar. What we do, we go out and inspect the area and see exactly what the capacity can hold, if a ground mount or carport or rooftop will be suitable for that particular install. So we get that data, we go back to our structural engineers, we do have some analysis, the wind analysis, and we do come with the best solution for that particular site, whether it's a ground mount, a carport, or a rooftop, which would serve the needs of that particular area.
Now you're talking about the carports, and I think that's what we're looking at right here. And this is something, this is a collaborative project with a Temple of Praise, and there'll be some others that will be like that. But it has a very large asphalt footprint, which now is just absorbing heat, giving out heat, which is really not the best way. But also at the same time, you want to be able to reduce the energy uses as far as the church is concerned. So when you're looking at these this type of mount that we're looking at right here with the carports, what do you have to consider in doing that? And then how does that actually leverage the value of that land by having these carport mounted solar panels?
Good question. The critical part of our carports is the structural analysis, which goes down into the carports. You have to dig down and see exactly their soil. How much can it hold? How deep can you go to install this carport? As you know, the structural analysis is going to determine exactly how much we can go in terms of the footprint and the capacity of these carports.
Yeah, and it's just amazing to me how you have all these different types of buildings, and it's individually designed for that. That means you must have a lot of engineers and both structural, electrical, mechanical, and all that to do it. So how many of these projects have you now installed, and what do you see as far as installs for the future?
Great question. Standard Solar has 15 in-house engineers, where we do our own engineering work. We design, engineer, and install. What we do in terms of these particular engineers, where we come out, we do the site surveys, we design our own photovoltaic systems. We have our own CAD drawings where we place them out for the clients to review, and we do get ahead, we go ahead and do the work.
Now, looking at the time delay, this is one of the things that people ask, gee, I want to have it. Sometimes it's like, hey, I wanted it yesterday.
Yes.
How soon can you come out and just put some panels, in my house or the building or whatever?
Yes.
And then others is, they're taking years to think about it, decide whether they want to do this or not. So, but looking at a realistic timeline from where you go out and you do the initial assessment all the way through to determine the type of technology, government approvals, and actually do the install and then the final inspection, what can people expect, whether it's commercial or residential, to go through that kind of timeline?
Well, for a commercial project, it can take, from procurement to the installation, can take anywhere between 1 month and 2 months, depends on the kilowatt system of the system. On the residential side, it can take about 1 month or 2 as well, in terms of the physicality of the roof, the analysis, and the procurement and installation of the system on the roof itself.
Yeah, well, looking at this, we're getting to the end of our time on this, and time goes too fast. We're having this kind of very interesting discussion. But what do you see for the growth and expansion of solar itself in the United States and around the globe as far as a viable renewable energy source?
Well, great. I think solar industry is very much expanding into the different parts of the nation, and I would urge other states to get a call from Washington, D.C. is the new SREC market. It's one of the best that we have in the nation that will help propel other places to have solar. And Standard Solar is well positioned to be a leader in that force.
Yeah, and the last question is going to be, what do you see for the growth and development of Standard Solar, say, over the next 5, 10, 15 years as we're moving towards this magical 2050 date?
Great. Standard Solar is well positioned to be a leader in this solar industry. We are doing a lot of work in different municipalities with utility, agriculture, commercial. We're doing a lot of waste management jobs in the area as well. So we're well positioned to be well off in the solar industry.
Yeah. And one last quick question: what are the benefits of going solar? And we got to be quick.
Green energy.
Green energy, okay, but also it saves money, right?
Saves money as well.
That's the whole thing about it. This is Mathias Choma. He's Assistant Project Manager, Commercial Construction, Standard Solar, and this was really very informative. Thank you for being with us. And thank you, viewers, for being with us as we talk about this very exciting development and expansion as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.
Too many women get hit by their boyfriends and husbands. Too many women are pressured into having unprotected sex. Half of the people in the world living with AIDS are women. It doesn't have to be this way. Together, we can change this reality. Let's strive for a world free of violence.
At Volunteers of America, we don't just give kids a way to stay off the streets. We give them the tools they need to reach their full potential. We don't just help the elderly receive needed care, we help them live life to the fullest. We don't just provide food for homeless individuals and families. We provide job training and placement so they can buy groceries. Volunteers of America is a national organization that for over 100 years has provided programs and services that allow people to overcome their challenges to become vital members of their community. At Volunteers of America, we don't just help people, we help people help themselves. Find out how you can support the programs that are working in your community. Contact Volunteers of America today. Call 1-800-899-0089.
Drivers face all kinds of distractions.
Guys, stop playing. No. 127 consecutive.
Before your wireless phone becomes one of them, stop. Drive safely. Keep your phone in easy reach and dial sensibly. In bad weather or traffic, call later and use a hands-free device. Remember, with wireless, safety is your call.
We're back to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet. I'm Dr. Sam Hancock, the President and Executive Director of Emerald Planet and the host for the Emerald Planet TV. We welcome you on a week-to-week basis as we're looking around the globe for those 1,000 best practices, but also the people that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we go to a planet with 9 billion people by 2050, and some are estimating maybe 12 to 13 billion by the end of the century, how are we going to be able to increase the basic infrastructure, the food, the fuel, the fiber, everything is needed so that people actually have enhanced quality of life and not just to exist. And we have two gentlemen sitting with me that actually are very much in the mix of all this. One is working with the local government, the Washington, D.C. Government here, and then another one with the private industry sitting over there. And sitting right beside me is Zachery, goes by Zach Dobelbower, and he is the sustainability manager for Washington, D.C. Department of General Services, like the GSA with the federal government. And then right beside him is Mathias Choma, who is assistant project manager for commercial construction of Standard Solar. And gentlemen, welcome to Emerald Planet TV.
Thank you for having us.
Glad to have you here. We've had chats before, and this was all really about using renewable energy and solar specifically in this cases, but you know, as far as the city is concerned, you're looking at all different potential opportunities as far as doing the renewable. But Zach, looking at city government itself, in many cases people think of city governments or government in general is usually behind. It's not very progressive. I mean, these are things that people say about you. You know this because you live it on a day-to-day basis. Correct. But yet Washington, D.C. has really taken a 180-degree different approach to this. Why do you think the philosophy, the mentality in Washington, D.C., center of governments, many governments, but yet it's quite progressive in what it's doing? Why do you think that mindset is different here?
So I think we're really a college town when you look at how many universities and schools the district has. So there's a lot of young people. There's a lot of learning that's taking place throughout the city. And so I think with the number of colleges, the focus on education, and really also being a liberal, left-leaning city, I think, in terms of our demographics.
Progressive.
We're progressive, absolutely. And so I think that combination brings about progressive policies, and the people stick around after school or have the ability to implement some of these cutting-edge technologies and practices.
So you think then, and I'm going to continue with this, and then I'll come to you, Mathias, in just a minute. Then you think that this is really an opportunity. It's almost like a very large laboratory to experiment with things. But yet, as a city government using taxpayer money, I would assume you have to be very calculated as far as what is going to be the best as far as the technology and have the best return to the taxpayer. So Zach, looking at that, how do you determine that balance of, yes, we want to be progressive, yes, we want to be looked upon as being a very advanced city and technologies, but yet we have to guard the taxpayers' funds.
Absolutely. So I think I referenced in the last segment that we started off with a broad look at our assets, particularly our roof assets across the city. And that really started in 2012. And in 2013, we implemented our first power purchase agreement on a single site for just above 400 kilowatts. And so we actually started small and did a lot of testing and working with the market, working with the schools, and implemented on a small scale to start this off. And so we went through the mechanics of implementing a financial mechanism to enable a public-private partnership. And so doing that work, legal, procurement on the program side, and particularly on the leadership for the city, it was good to get a small success on the board and kind of chart the path for how we would expand and ultimately do something that is much larger and on a utility scale. So that's what we did. Yeah,
you have 30 million square feet. I wanted to ask this question. So you started with one very small project.
That's right.
You wanted to make sure that was successful, and you really extracted everything that you could learn about that. That has grown from that very small project. So what was the size of that, and where are you today?
So that was 450 kilowatts. That was at Dunbar High School, which is a LEED Platinum U.S. Green Building Council certified building. So it's a great, it's got geothermal, it's got solar panels on top. We've got state-of-the-art controls in that facility. But so we started with that. Today we have 7 megawatts that have been installed. Almost 6.5 of that really has been installed over the last 9 months. Over the next 6 months, we will install about another 5 megawatts, and before next summer, we'll have 12 in place.
So what you've done is you started with this very small unit, and now in essence, you're galloping. As you're moving forward, because you've tested it, you know there's a good return for the taxpayer, good return for the environment, and so you've been able to balance that out, and by the numbers, been able to prove that this is a good deal for the taxpayer.
That's correct, and all of the economics are really hammered out in the power purchase agreement. So before anything is installed, before we are setting down the path towards implementation, there is a lengthy process and negotiation to come to terms because really everyone wins on these projects. The small businesses wind up making a profit. The district gets lower electricity rates. The schools benefit by having on-site generation and the education component with it. So it really is a true definition of a public-private partnership, and we articulate as much as that as possible on the front side before the work gets going so that we've got those terms in place and we know what kind of economic impact it's going to have.
Mathias, I tell you, this is a tough taskmaster that you're working with here.
Absolutely.
And the whole thing about that is really what you're doing as far as the private partner in this whole operation is that it's really taking you to the next level as far as your game is concerned, to look at the very best technologies. How do we extract the very best as far as the amount of solar is being produced, going into the schools, into the city. So when you're looking at that, how does this help to the private sector to step up its game to meet or even exceed the expectations of a very exacting government like Washington, D.C.?
Right. I think one thing which Standard Solar has done, particularly as a partner in the private industry, was invest a lot in the technology, getting the executives, the staff, and the engineers to different conferences to learn the different technologies which is coming out. For instance, for this DCDGS portfolio, we implemented a 10K system. It's a fairly new system in the market, and we use one of the highest watt modules you can get at 500. There was a combination of engineers learning the new systems, the new technologies, and spending time in the lab.
Mm-hmm. And also too is going back to something you and I have talked about, off camera, is the whole thing of doing the financing.
Yes.
So when you're coming into the city, I mean, this is really a critical part of this whole thing. You have the best technologies, you have the best engineers and all that, but if you have no way to finance it,
yes,
or to allow the city to take the opportunities of the proper financing to do it, in most cases, it's just not going to happen. So what did you do as a company, Standard Solar, to make sure that you had the financing in place as well as the technologies, the personnel, and the ability to actually install these things? Because it takes a lot of labor to do this.
Yes. We relied upon our trusted and accountability, which is a reputation we built over the course of years. For this particular portfolio, we partnered up with WGL, Washington Gas, which did the financing of this particular portfolio. So that was a huge help for us, and it worked from both sides. It was a win-win for WGL and Standard Solar at large.
Yeah, now looking at, you also, WDC Solar has been integral to all of this. So you're a collaborator collaborating.
Yes.
Which is you're leveraging the assets that you have, and it's something that the city demands, that they want more employment and more education within the city itself.
Yes.
So how, as a private company, do you do that? So you're making a return on investment.
Yes.
That's expected by the partners and the shareholders, but at the same time meeting these exacting requirements.
One of the key aspects of this DCDGS portfolio was we had to partner with minorities and local firms which are based in DC to highlight a key integral part of stimulating jobs. And with a subcontractor like WDC Solar, a minority-owned firm, it was a critical aspect of us getting this awarded to us in the first place. And we estimated, in the essence of this portfolio, we have sustained over 200 local jobs, which is a critical part.
That's fantastic. Zach, looking at that, going back to the education, local employment, trying to have the local employment as local so they can actually walk or take the bus or whatever within the community, how critical do you think that is, this rapid growth as far as absorbing but also being able to expand the use of solar throughout the city?
It's absolutely critical. I think doing solar at this scale requires having a lot of workers in the region and within the district. And so we have requirements through our contracts and procurement vehicles or through the contracting office that requires certain percentages for local small business, minority-owned participation. And so through our contracting and procurement work, we set out those standards, we set out those parameters, and work with the private sector to make sure that that they have the subcontractors or the contractors in place to do that work. And it's been very successful. I think on these projects, the threshold for local small business participation has been exceeded 2 or 3 times what is required.
That's fantastic.
And it really does require having local skills and local contractors able to do this work.
And they retain in the community. Mathias, we got 15 seconds now. Anyway, what do you see for the expansion of using solar in Washington, D.C. and the inner suburbs?
I think it's the sky's the limit. We are expanding, and we're excited to be partners.
That's fantastic. Thank you for being with us, Zach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mathias, thank you for being here. Thank you to your viewers for being with us. We certainly appreciate you listening to this very important topic of providing renewable resources as far as how we're going to reach out and increase the quality of life for all citizens in Washington, D.C. and the region and around the globe as we create the Emerald Planet.